I smelled the poison before I saw it. Sharp, acrid, the kind of chemical bite that made your eyes water. My morning fishing trip had turned into a nightmare. Dozens of fish floated belly up, their silver scales flashing in the light as streaks of unnatural blue swirled through the pond. It looked less like water and more like a vat of paint someone had dumped into a washing machine. I'd spent half my life around lakes and rivers, guiding others and working as a freshwater conservation specialist. I knew what natural die-off looked like. This wasn't it. This was professional grade destruction, calculated, deliberate. And the sickest part? That pond fed into the municipal water system. Whoever did this wasn't just killing fish, they were poisoning us all. By the time I got home, I found a violation notice taped to my door. Official HOA letterhead, a $150 fine accusing me of damaging community property. It was dated the day before the fish kill even happened. I read it twice, my hands shaking. How could I be cited for environmental damage that hadn't occurred yet, unless someone knew exactly what was coming? Unless they planned it. That someone was Gloria Whitmore, HOA president, polished to perfection with her pearls and power suits. She approached me later that morning, portfolio tucked under her arm like a weapon. Maybe if you didn't spend all day fishing, our water wouldn't look like a disaster, she said with that realtor smile that promised nothing but trouble. I've practiced catch and release for 15 years, I snapped back. I've dedicated my life to conservation. You think my fishing did this? She just shrugged. Big changes are coming. You'll see. Improvements for property values. Her words chilled me more than the chemical stink clinging to my clothes. Improvements? I started noticing the details. Fresh soil near the banks, pipes buried under the grass, activity that had no business happening near our pond. This wasn't about fish. It was about money. 2 days later, she called an emergency HOA meeting. Less than 24 hours notice, another violation of procedure. The community center buzzed like a courtroom before a trial. As I walked in, her assistant blocked me from the front. You'll need to sit in the back. Ongoing investigation. Residents turned to stare like I was some kind of criminal. Gloria stood at the podium, pearls gleaming under fluorescent lights. She didn't say my name, but she didn't have to. One resident has created a health hazard, she declared. We even have reason to believe he deliberately sabotaged our water quality to avoid responsibility. The room went silent, every eye on me. Then she held up a document, demanding I sign a pledge never to fish again. I read it and felt my blood run cold. Hidden in the legal jargon was a clause waiving all rights to object to future development. She wasn't trying to stop my fishing. She was trying to clear the path for a project that would destroy our water source. I refused. Her smile slipped, and she leaned toward her assistant, whispering words I wasn't supposed to hear. Make sure the contamination paperwork is ready by Friday. The developer wants it fast. The pieces started falling into place. She was staging an environmental disaster, manufacturing evidence so developers could build. But if the pond was contaminated, then every family in the neighborhood, including hers, was drinking poison. Was greed really enough to blind her that completely? Paul Harris thought so. A former HOA board member, he pulled me aside after the meeting. Come to City Hall, he whispered. You need to see the water maps. The blueprints told the story in black and white. Every house in the development was tied to the pond's water flow. Poisoning the pond meant poisoning us all. My stomach clenched as I stared at the lines. She's risking everyone's health, I said. Paul's voice was grim. She's already chosen her side. That night, I broke into the HOA office. My heart hammered as I pried open Gloria's desk. What I found confirmed everything. Permits for a luxury resort, emails with a development corporation, environmental studies requiring evidence of contamination. She'd been plotting this for months. I took photos, every page shaking in my hands. But by the next morning, Gloria struck back. A sheriff's deputy delivered papers to my door. Harassment. Illegal surveillance. $5,000 in damages and a restraining order to keep me away from the pond. She was painting me as the villain, and the neighborhood bought it. Parents avoided me on the street. Children were pulled indoors when I walked by. I was the scapegoat, the lunatic fisherman who poisoned his own water. Then Paul showed up at my house with a manila envelope. His face was pale. I found something worse. Inside were emails. Gloria's official HOA account negotiating with developers. an advance payment of $50,000 weeks before the first fish died. Instructions for which chemicals to use, how to maximize visual impact, how to stage a disaster that would look catastrophic enough to justify redevelopment. My fury turned into a kind of cold determination. We had proof. All we needed was daylight. So I called my friend Jake Morrison, a water safety expert, and together we organized a public testing event. No more backroom accusations. We'd test the water in front of everyone. The day of the event, families gathered with picnic baskets, kids running along the poisoned shoreline. Jake set up EPA-certified equipment, real-time analyzers that would spit out results no one could argue with. But Gloria wasn't about to lose control. She arrived with her own consultants, hired guns dressed up as neutral experts. She even accused me publicly of trespassing and stealing documents. The crowd buzzed with uncertainty. My credibility was hanging by a thread. For 2 hours, we waited as the tests ran. When the results came in, Gloria's consultant jumped first, announcing manageable contamination and hinting that fishing activities might have worsened it. My hands curled into fists. Then Jake stepped forward, voice steady, numbers displayed on his tablet for everyone to see. Copper sulfate levels are 15 times above EPA standards. Lead and mercury beyond safe consumption. This is no accident. These are industrial chemicals available only to licensed water treatment companies. Someone did this deliberately. The crowd gasped. Parents pulled their children close, fear written across every face. Mrs. Chen, whose daughter had been sick all week, shouted, "My family has been drinking this water." The panic spread like fire. That's when Paul dropped the bomb. He held up the emails, his voice shaking with anger. She took $50,000 from developers to poison our water. Silence, then outrage. Phones came out, photos snapped, voices rose in unison. Gloria tried to deny it, but her hired consultant quietly packed his equipment and slipped away. She was alone, cornered, drowning in evidence. EPA agents arrived before the crowd had even dispersed, badges flashing, authority in their eyes. Deliberate contamination of municipal water supplies is a federal crime. Agent Martinez announced. Penalties include up to 10 years in prison. Gloria's face drained of color. In a final act of desperation, she staggered to the ornamental fountain, cupped her hands, and drank. "See? It's safe," she shouted. Minutes later, she collapsed, convulsing on the ground as paramedics rushed in. The poison she'd poured into our lives now coursed through her own body. Justice came swiftly. Federal charges, civil lawsuits, permanent removal from office. Her career in real estate and HOA leadership was finished. She pleaded guilty, fined $50,000, the same sum she'd sold us out for, and forced to pay restitution that would bankrupt her. Under Paul's leadership, the HOA transformed. New bylaws demanded environmental studies for any major decision. Water quality monitoring became routine. The pond, once a weapon in a war of greed, was declared permanently protected. Weeks later, I stood at the restored water's edge, casting my line into clean ripples. The community was healing, families closer than before, trust slowly returning. Gloria had tried to poison us for profit, but truth had floated to the surface, undeniable and unstoppable. Looking at my reflection in the water, I realized the lesson was simple. Greed sinks, lies rot, but the truth, like the fish I waited patiently to catch, always rises.